ceasefires. You got the Prime Minister of Ireland in the U.S. meeting with Donald Trump. You got a spending bill that has passed, and cigars all around. Just grabbed a standard here, the Oliva or the Oliva V. Melanio, not the Maduro on this one. This is the natural. Gonna work perfect for the show here. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. Let's get started, shall we?
So I knew you would have a question.
Michael Gordon, Wall Street Journal. So the Russians are still making gains on the battlefield. There's been no public response to the developments in Jeddah. Are you concerned they're playing for time? Have you had any contact with them? What's been their response officially? And are they willing to accept the ceasefire unconditionally?
Well, I mean, we don't know the answer to the last question. That's what we want to know, whether they're prepared to do it unconditionally. We'll have contact with them today. There's already been contacts at different levels with counterparts, different members of the administration, and that'll continue. But as far as the Russian reaction to it, that's really the question here. And that is, this is a few hours old. We're going to bring it to them directly. We're going to say that Ukraine is prepared to stop all battlefield activity and begin the immediate process of negotiating an enduring end to the war. And we'll see what the response is.
That's a great question. What's going to be the response? What happens if Russia, after all this, says, you know what? I know you did all this work to try and get a peace deal and a ceasefire and bring Ukraine to the table. Nah, we're not interested. We have taken a strong look at what you have put together here, and we think that this deal sucks. And so, hey, Don, no thanks. What happens at that moment? I think that's a legitimately good question. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. The phone number, 833-GOT-TONY, 833-468-8669. That's how you get to be a part of the show. Live streaming, by the way, in all the places, the Facebooks, the Twitters, the YouTubes, everywhere. I dig that that they were able to get a ceasefire deal, that Trump was able to get one, that you send Rubio and Mike Waltz to Saudi Arabia to make this happen. But no one has asked the question, what happens if the Russians say no? And I have to assume that what happens if the Russians say no is Trump has to say, well, I got to move these people to a yes. And that's not going to involve putting pressure on Ukraine. That's going to involve different pressures. I'm curious to see how MAGAville responds to such a thing. I don't know how they're going to take that. I don't know if they're going to say, well, now Trump's leading us to war, because the argument has been Russia's misunderstood and they're not expansionist and Ukraine's terrible and a bunch of Nazis and this and that and the other. No one is discussing the idea that Ukraine is this special place filled with leprechauns and joy and pots of gold. No one. All right, yeah, Zelensky's a small guy, not a leprechaun. What? That was rude. No one is saying this regarding Vladimir Zelensky. But Russia's clearly the aggressor. And if Russia doesn't agree and Russia doesn't come to a table, what is the United States willing to give? And what is the United States willing to do to extract the deal, to apply the pressure on them to make them say, okay, ceasefire. It sounds good. Listen, I'm only asking the question that they're going to have to contend with. I don't know yet what the plan is. I don't know yet what they do if indeed Russia doesn't go forward. The Russian Defense Ministry, according to the Wall Street Journal, saying they've recaptured 5 more villages in some territories held by Ukraine. The Russian flag being raised on the outskirts of some towns. Ukrainian Air Force saying Russia fired 3 ballistic missiles and 133 drones across the country overnight because they feel that they can. They feel that they've got an upper hand based on the ridiculous meeting that Zelensky had with Trump in the Oval. And allow me to say it again. I don't know how this meeting is Trump's fault. Been through this over and over and over again. How does it possibly work that that meeting was the fault of Donald Trump when that meeting was clearly the fault, clearly the fault of Zelensky? Now, you know that I think that that was not J.D. Vance's best day. That's not even the story. Zelensky wanted to lecture. Zelensky wanted to push for more security guarantees. The security guarantees were absolutely not coming. And Zelensky blew it up. That's what happened. And now you have people out there saying, why should, now that Zelensky has offered a ceasefire, Ukrainians shouldn't even do this.
Ukraine's President Zelensky says it's now up to Russia to show they are serious about peace. How much pressure does this put on Moscow?
Well, I do think it puts some pressure on him. It complicates Putin's position a little bit. I don't think, frankly, a ceasefire is in Ukraine's interest. I think if you freeze the conflict along the existing front lines and start negotiations in Geneva or Vienna or some neutral capital that drag on, the ceasefire line could become a new de facto Ukraine-Russian border, which gives Russia 20% of Ukraine's territory. I think Zelensky had to agree to the ceasefire in Saudi Arabia because he needed to get U.S. military assistance, intelligence assistance turned back on. He had to try and repair the damage from the debacle in the Oval Office. So, of course, he agreed to it, and he did get the military assistance turned back on. He wants that to continue, and he'll try and leverage this against the Russians. But he's in a very dangerous and precarious position. So is Ukraine as a whole.
I want to.
The idea that the ceasefire doesn't help. If you freeze the conflict along the existing lines, that's John Bolton speaking, and some of you are like, well, of course he does. You freeze it along the existing front line, that's better than a ceasefire line, which would give Russia more territory. If the argument is stay in this World War I-esque trench warfare deadlock, let just people be destroyed week after week while you're trying to work out a deal, that's preferable? I don't know if the Ukrainians would see it that way. In the end, maybe we should be asking ourselves a different question. If Russia doesn't come to the table, that's Ukraine's problem. If Ukraine wanted to blow up the meeting with Trump, that's Ukraine's problem. Is any of this our problem? The answer, of course, for all the people who refuse to admit it, goes back to what happens. How do I best say this? What happens if Ukraine is taken by Russia? Poland is a NATO nation. You've got the Baltics. Aren't you better off keeping Russia there? And this is where now the real back and forth exists about the idea that Russia's not an expansionist power. They're not trying to do this, Tony. Why do you keep saying that? Because history is on my side. History is on my side. That Russia is the expansionist power, and Russia will go into the Baltics. Russia will go into Poland. Russia will do this. Because if they can get 20% of Ukraine, then in a couple of years, they can get another 20% of Ukraine, and then they can get 6% of Poland. And then it's how they work. It's how they operate. It is how Putin thinks. Facts are facts. So we have not asked, of course, if these two won't come to a deal, what is our plan? But I think maybe it hasn't been asked because it's already been answered. And that's the mineral rights deal. Because the mineral rights deal will make the United States de facto a security apparatus of Ukraine. Because if we're going to invest $1 billion, $2 billion, $8 billion, I don't know how many billions of dollars you invest in rare earth minerals, we're going to protect that money. We're going to protect that investment. We're going to protect those people, and we're going to protect that money, that investment, and those people with very, very big guns. We understand this, right? If you put the money there, you're going to put protection there. If you're putting protection there, if Russia should get close, oh, well then. You've got the problem that no one in MAGAville actually wants. So this all goes back to, can Trump now, whether it's through sanctions or something else, get Russia to the table and sign a deal? And signing a ceasefire has to now lead to the next deal, which is, okay, Ukraine, what are you giving up? Because it's not that I want it. Ukraine is going to give up something. That's happening. And anybody that says otherwise is nuts. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. What's everybody yelling at me about the third hour? Wait till you find out we're leaving a little bit early today. Don't go anywhere. We're not going anywhere yet. Also, the camera's close. Sarah, what's the deal? Look how I should back that up a little, right? I did adjust. I created more space over here, so I'm a little more centered. But I look this way, and then I look this way, and then I look this way, and then I look this way. And this shirt is way too big on me. Look at that. That is not, I mean, don't get me wrong. I look hot. I'm just saying, that shirt's too big on me. Right there. That shirt is way too big. Way, way, way too big. Do I need a break from the camera? Okay, so allow me to explain this the best way I can. I'm glad everybody's here. I don't. How do I want to say this? How do I want to say this, Sarah? I don't like the camera. Is that it? I don't know. I think I often think that playing to the camera affects the whole show. I don't think I'm as funny. I don't think I'm as focused. I just don't. Like, I think everyone does it here, right? So the evolution brings it here. I think Rush was right. Put it like up here, like just aiming down and pretend like it doesn't exist. Pretend that it doesn't exist. And this is the amazing part, man. And trust me, I'm super appreciative. People love the camera. And I know so many radio guys are like, I don't understand. You're watching the radio show. What is the difference? There's something different to seeing it happen, and the expressions and the movements, because that part doesn't really change. Like, even when there's no camera on, I'm still having the cigar. I'm still engaging in that level of expression. I just wonder, maybe I should have it more out of sight, out of mind. I do. But like during the breaks, like, I love this discussion. Like, this is fun. This is good. So with that, I don't know. All I know is I'm getting a note from Twitix about how I should be boosting my posts and get more people to see my post, which is basically their way of saying, write us a check. Well, no one writes checks anymore. Give us your credit card information. You know, it's the Jenny Slate money please meme. That's what it is. That's what it is. I've got the spending bill conversation. I'm going to get to that. 30 seconds heard. And then I've got hold on, Don. Now you want me to have a second shot with like a main view?
Yeah, I can make this. Look at that. That's like an upshot from the laptop.
But it repeats on itself, so I don't do that. All right, coming back to the show.
Threats against you, a primary challenger, his campaign establishment appears to be poised to try and contest you.
It feels just like 2020, March 27th, 2020, when I was the only one to oppose the CARES Act. The president threatened me. I got 81% of the vote. And then what happened? The spending bill caused all this massive inflation that we see now.
That's Thomas Massey saying, if you want to primary me for not voting for a continuing resolution, that's totally fine. But I'm right and you all suck. That, by the way, that's my Thomas Massey impression. What do you think? That's pretty. Also, MIT. That's my impression. I'm going on the road. Look out, Terry Fader. Tony's coming. Years ago, that would have been a Rich Little joke, but you gotta make it current, is what you gotta do. You know, kids, for the peoples. Tony Katz today. What's going on, everybody? Find everything at TonyKatz.com. The legislation passes. This is a continuing resolution, a vote of 217 to 213. So it is bipartisan. And when I say bipartisan, you had one Republican vote against, that's Thomas Massey. You had one Democrat vote for, that's James Golden out of Maine. You had both the Republican and Democrat miss the vote. Rahul Grijalva, a progressive out of Tucson, he has been ill for seemingly for a while now. So what that is, I don't have an answer for. I'm not sure why he's not feeling well. I'm not sure I don't know if it's something serious or not serious, but I noticed that he has been out of pocket for a while. I do not know what is the story with why Representative Moore missed the vote, but neither here nor there. It goes now to the Senate. The Senate is going to need 7 Democrats who come across, and these Democrats are going to have to come across and vote for it to get it past cloture. And then be able to get to a vote. So you're going to need 60 votes. The question is, will you get 7 Democrats to come aboard? And the answer is very possibly. Because now we're talking about pressure. It's the first time I have seen Republicans do this properly. I am not arguing for or against the continuing resolution, except to say that I cannot stand continuing resolutions. I want a budget. A simple man. Give me a budget. This continuing resolution still has too much spending, but some spending has been reduced, and I will at least appreciate that. If I listen to Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, you could not have in this continuing resolution the cuts that you're looking for, like the cuts from DOGE or other places. That has to come differently. Okay, show me the cuts already. The spending on non-military is 8% less than 2024 levels. I can appreciate it. It's still too much? Okay. And if Thomas Massey wants to vote on principle on this subject, I can't necessarily say to him that he's wrong if he has taken a position that we spend too dang much. We just spend, the rent is too damn high, we spend too dang much, that's it. I think the people who are threatening him with a primary challenge don't understand how much support he has. It seems to me that there are plenty of people out there who are very willing to say, no, we should be cutting more. And Massey's right. So stop telling him that somehow he's a bad guy. He was right regarding COVID spending. He was right regarding this. I think he's got more support than Trump and Trump acolytes realize. I truly, truly do. What will happen in the Senate has nothing to do with this stuff. The Senate Democrats now have a different problem. And their problem is, if they don't vote for it, Democrats shut down the government. That's the story. If the 53 senators, Republicans, hold together, Democrats shut down the government. That's the story. And it doesn't matter what Hakeem Jeffries says, and it doesn't matter what Chuck Schumer said. It's inconsequential. Democrats can't be blamed for shutting down the government. Sure you can. Watch. Here, I'll show you. Democrats shut down the government. I got to admit, that was pretty easy. That was good. That was good. I didn't even need a cue card or nothing. That's how good that was. They can claim they can't be blamed from now until the end of the time. Sorry. The Republicans got this through. Republicans were serious about not shutting down the government. Now Democrats have to be serious about shutting down the government. They got to be serious. But if Senator Chris Coons wants to keep talking like this,
I'm going to vote against what came over from the House Republicans to the Senate last night, because I don't want to give my vote to support what Trump and Musk are doing. I do think there's real risks to a government shutdown. So I respect those who are saying they are concerned that President Trump will go even further if we hand him that possibility. But what's come over, which is often called a clean CR in the talk of the Congress, is not clean, it's dirty. It's got lots of provisions that will make cuts and harm organizations and communities all over our country. So, Sarah, I think this is a terrible idea.
It's a dirty CR. Yeah, you are. You're a dirty, filthy CR. You just need a spanking, you dirty CR. Sorry. Just, I got a little carried away. You're not going to vote for it, but you're already saying that other people will. You're already giving them a pass. You're already giving them the space. Democrats are stuck here. Democrats are stuck here because they don't want to be seen as the people involved in a shutdown. I think that for the majority of us, not all of us, we see the shutdown conversation as such unbelievable garbage. You terrible, boring people. You're just the worst. You're just the worst people. You keep threatening us. You keep attacking us. You keep taking your politics and you're saying, how can you further screw with our lives? Man, no wonder your approval rating is garbage. You know, the mayor of Chicago, Brendan Johnson has a 6% approval rating. And I often wonder, how is it that high? Congress should have a 6% approval rating, except Republicans are doing what they said they were going to do and supporting Trump in places they said they were going to support Trump. So it makes sense that that's higher. Democrats don't have an option here. They've got very limited moves. This is going to bring us to another story. And I mentioned this. I said, maybe I didn't mention I was on Newsmax earlier today. And I don't know who first brought this up, and I don't want to take credit for something that isn't mine, but I wholeheartedly agree. And I compare it to the concept of the consigliere. Democrats are not ready for the moment. That never happens. I will discuss. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. More to get to. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Good to be with you as I get ready for what is next. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, a little cough. It's not the cigar, actually. I do think it's allergies. I do think that's what it is. Here, I'm going to take some allergy meds, but I can't show you what I'm going to do. I can't do it on camera. I can't. Boys got to have a standard. So here, we'll put this up right here. There you go. And get your tickets right now. Okay. By the way, it was medicine. It wasn't something, tawdry that I was doing. Don't be silly. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Let me get this right here and let me. I wonder if I can. Oh, I can do it here. I'll do that. All right, I'll come up when it comes up. Got it. All right, we're coming back to the show. Glad you guys are here. I think this is good. Oh, got to relight it. That's what happens when you talk too much. Well, it's not too much. It's just the right amount. Coming back to the radio show, music in 5 seconds, according to producer Landon. Should I just call him Landon? Let's call him producer Landon. I know it doesn't matter to you, but what if it matters to me? There can't be many reasons that you would shred all your documents. But when you see a government agency shredding all their documents, ordered to shred, ordered to burn, it can only mean a couple things. Somebody's coming to look at stuff and you don't want them to see. Tony Katz today. What are you doing? Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Live streaming on the YouTube, on the Twittix, on the Facebook. Just look for Tony Katz Radio, and boom, you will find it. And then you can follow it and do the whole thing. This is the story from Politico. USAID official tells staffers, shred and burn your documents. Okay. USAID is the Agency for International Development. USAID is where the Trump administration and DOGE has been looking at taking a look at what it is that they've been spending money on, saying, what in the world? Oh, including lots of money to Politico for that special subscription, that gives you the deep, deep insights. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. And if people like members of Congress wanted to buy one, that's fine. Politico Pro, go right ahead. $11,000 a year. How could I not have a subscription service? What's wrong with me? I should have a subscription service. $11,000 a year. And for $11,000 a year, once a month, I come to your house and I give you a foot rub. $11,000 a year for a subscription. Holy bloody heck. Holy heck. Shred and burn your documents. Of course, we have seen the levels of gross spending from USAID, a place that they're looking to gut. You're seeing Marco Rubio, as Secretary of State, move down this road. As the story goes, a senior official at USAID instructed a number of the agency's remaining staff to convene for on Tuesday for an all-day group effort. This is how it is described. An all-day group effort to destroy documents stored at their former headquarters, including contents of the agency's, quote, classified safes and personnel documents. Shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break. Label the burn bags with the word secret and USAID Bureau or Independent Office in dark Sharpie. That's a story. We are going to throw these people in jail, right? Oh, innocent until proven guilty. Sure, fine, terrific, great. Why else would they be burning these things? Because they don't want people to know. They don't want the administration to know. Take it back. They don't want you to know what it is they've been up to. They don't want you to know what they've been spending money on. They don't want you to know what they're doing. Now, if you tell me this is standard operating procedure, it's standard operating procedure to burn documents, shred documents for a new incoming administration that is closing down the department? No, it's not. I wouldn't believe you if you said it to me. I don't believe you that you are saying it to me. I don't believe that. No one believes that. Everybody knows this is the department covering its tracks for those people who are ideological, like-minded, and have been proactive in supporting the waste, fraud, and abuse of USAID. Oh, Tony, USAID does so much good work. They provide so much. Nah. You burning the documents is proof enough that they don't. You burning the documents is proof enough that not only are you embarrassed by what you were doing, you think that what you were doing would get you or somebody else in a whole boatload and buttload of trouble. There's no other reason for it. Now that we understand this, the question is, why would we listen to anybody tell us that somehow it is wrong to be looking at these agencies, at these organizations, and what it is they are spending? Why would anybody, how could anybody look at us and say it is wrong to do this? As a matter of fact, this is the proof that this is the only thing to be doing. Taking a look at what it is that is happening, getting into the nooks and crannies of every single organization and agency. We have been abused over the years by the agency class. And this has taken place because of an absolute weakness of Congress. The weakness of Congress is that they're lazy and they didn't want to do the work. And so you create an agency, or you say, hey, let the agency handle this, and then it's off your plate. This is the conversation, for example, of Chevron deference. Chevron was the case that stated that the agencies, EPA, for example, they're the ones with the expertise. So if they create a regulation, then we should really defer to that regulation because they have the expertise in that subject area. What was really happening under Chevron was that Congress was able to not only abdicate its responsibility, but Congress could ensure that they were not able to get back their responsibility because they built an agency class that had all the power, all the money, and none of the responsibility. No one in the agency had to get reelected. The member of Congress had to be reelected, and you were sure to get a lot of support if you made sure you kept the EPA strong to ensure that we were protecting our environments. What you were really doing was ensuring that you could have people working at the EPA and getting paid. You could engage pet projects, all these kinds of things, because you had fellow travelers in the agency now going out there and supporting this stuff. $2 billion to Stacey Abrams for washing machines. And she's defending it, by the way. How her organization got $2 billion. Well, what we did is we went out there, we gave out new washing machines and new dishwashers, and people were able to lower their energy bills. One woman lowered her energy bill by $98 a month. I'm not telling you that lowering your energy bill by $98 a month is a bad thing. I'm telling you that if a government agency was able to give Stacey Abrams $2 billion to buy dishwashers for people. We're all nuts. That is a terrible program. You know what that program is? Hold on. Let's see if you got it. What is that program? Where was I? I think I had this conversation Monday night on Newsmax with Ed Henry. Sarah, I don't know if you could find that. It was Monday night. It was the 6 p.m. hour with Ed Henry. What do you call it? What does it remind you of? You have a dishwasher. It does the job, but man, you'd save a lot of money if you had a more energy efficient dishwasher. So we will give you, through a $2 billion pool of taxpayer dollars, we will give you a new dishwasher that we pay for. What is that? That, kids, is Cash for Clunkers. It's exactly the same program. What happens when you have a Cash for Clunkers program? This was under Barack Obama. Oh, you've got that used car. That used car, that's not energy efficient. That used car doesn't work. You know what you need? You need a new car. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you top dollar for that used car so you can go out there and get a more energy efficient, gas efficient vehicle. What happens? First, this is government picking winners and losers. It is deciding certain industries. Secondly, the used car market falls apart. The price of vehicles goes up because everybody is given this free cash. Now you've got all these used cars out there. Where are you gonna sell them? What are you gonna do with them? Where are you gonna put them? If you state that everybody's gonna get a new dishwasher, how much do you think a dishwasher is going to be? I'm asking for the people who know nothing about economics. The government is saying here's $2 billion just in a test program with Stacey Abrams. Because as you know, Stacey Abrams in a previous life, Maytag repairman. True story. True science right there. Here's $2 billion. And what are you buying? Dishwashers. Ooh, I sell dishwashers. It's government money. Let's increase the cost of every dishwasher by $75. What, that doesn't happen? It's the only thing that happens. Kamala Harris wanted to give everybody $25,000 to buy a new house. What would that have done? Increase the prices of houses by $25,000. This is standard stuff, guys. You don't need to be an economist. You just have to sit down with a bourbon and think about it for 5 minutes. It's Cash for Clunkers, a program that didn't work. And they're doing it again. They just don't stop. They don't rest. They don't quit. They don't. And if we can stop $2 billion of our tax dollars, $2 billion of our tax dollars from being spent on nonsense through Stacey Abrams, who, by the way, I don't trust at all. I don't trust Stacey Abrams to buy a dishwasher, to buy a washing machine, to win an election. I wouldn't trust Stacey Abrams as far as I could throw Stacey Abrams. And I'm not trying to make fun of her when I say that. I'm saying I don't trust her. To buy appliances for my home? What are you talking about? Of course not. I trust me. I trust the market. And when you put $2 billion into a specific market, that market gets convoluted. All she's going to do is increase the pricing. That's all she's going to do. And wait till you find out, oh, no, not every appliance. No, only these appliances, because these people, I know the brother-in-law. What? That doesn't happen? Next, you're going to tell me no government agency would burn documents before the Trump administration could see them. It's right there. It's right there, easy to see. The only reason you're burning documents is because you are trying to hide something. Now, a White House spokesperson was saying this was sent to roughly 36 employees. The documents involved were old, mostly courtesy content, and the originals still exist on classified computer systems. More fake news hysteria. I'm sorry. I think that's the kind of statement that the White House is going to regret. I don't think that's hysteria. You sure that it was all just nonsense, some pleasantries sent to one another? You mean no one slipped anything in there by mistake? All I know is Sandy Berger once stuffed classified documents into his socks, and you're going to tell me you're setting things on fire? But don't worry, it's okay. With all due respect, if the Trump administration White House is saying that, the Trump administration White House is flat out lying. What kind of nonsense? The idea that this is happening is concerning. And to not be concerned about it, I don't know what else to say. No, I don't trust the agencies. No, I don't trust people when they're shredding things. And no, I don't give $2 billion to Stacey Abrams. What can I say? I'm a purist. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So there is a cat, which is, I think, a great way to start a joke. But I'm not trying to tell a joke, I'm telling a story. There is a cat who comes by the house. You guys know I've got the studio here, and I've thought about redoing it. And, you know, instead of doing it like this close, like turning it around and having the whole studio as the backdrop and everything else. There's this cat. We had some neighbors move in next door. Lovely people. They have a cat. The cat, do I give the cat's name? Is that saying too much? If maybe somebody will know the cat and then they'll know where I live. Like, is that the cat's name is Sven. Sven the cat. And Sven has decided that he, I think Sven's a he. Yeah, who am I to judge? Sven thinks he lives here. Sven just comes and hangs out. I'm not anti-pet. I just don't want any. The last thing I want to do on a January afternoon is walk the dog. I want no part of this. I think, oh, look at the fluffy thing. Look how cute. Look at how he slobbers. Oh, it's so adorable. Bye now. It's like other people's children. I want to look at them and then I want to leave. God. Oh, I'm going to hell. So Sven actually thinks that he lives here. He's here all the time. Like if he could get into the house, he'd get into the house. He has tried to jump into our cars. He's tried to jump into the garage. He's tried to sneak in. He's always around like one of the sliding doors. He's just rubbing himself against the sliding door. Not like that, right? We're not talking, he's not tubining. He's like gliding the side of his body against the door. And I'm like, I don't know what, does the cat have fleas? Do cats have fleas? I don't know what's happening here. But I don't know, like my family, my wife and the kids are like, oh, it's Sven. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then they'll go outside and they'll play with the cat. They're playing with the cat. And I'm like, the cat's never going to leave now. And so Winter didn't see the cat. Now that weather's gotten a little bit nice, there's the cat. He's everywhere. I don't know. I assume I just let it go and be like, oh, that family of mine, and just be thankful. And that's it. But I'm telling you, this cat is trying to undermine me. This cat is trying to usurp my authority. And it's, I don't know. I don't know if I feel good about that. I don't know if I feel good about that at all. Oh, that's right. Sarah has seen the cat. Sarah has seen the cat. The cat's a problem. You have illegal immigrants who've been trying to make their way to the United States. And what they have discovered is that they can't get here, that the door is closed, that you are seeing far less people trying to cross. You are seeing more arrests happening and deportation, the movement, I should say, I shouldn't say deportations, movement in these first days than you saw in the entire Biden presidency. So not being able to enter the U.S., they are heading home. Wall Street Journal with the story that you are seeing a tremendous number of people who have been trying to make their way to the U.S. turn themselves around and head back. Now, this is good, but I do believe that we need to be thinking in a part two here. The best way to ensure that people aren't trying to get into the United States illegally, because legally I have no issues. If they let them be vetted, we should say no to certain people. We should say no to certain activities, etc. But the best way to prevent these things is to have a better economy in those places. It is true. And Bukele, El Salvador has discussed this. We need to do a better job in our own country so people stay here. We need to have a better economy. We need to have a safer life. Yes. And I believe that involves investment and growth. And there's also a national security play here. And I'd like to see, not only with what we're doing in Panama and the Canal, I'd like to see the Trump administration move on this. I'm Tony Katz. Kids, we're going to take the break because we're taking the radio break. And according to Sarah, the cat is marking my house so other animals stay away. Mark your own dang house. What are you marking my house for? I don't want my house marked. If you go after and you're able to get the chipmunks, then everything is okay, right? I'll leave out saucers of milk if you take out the chipmunks. And by the way, that deal is for you as well. If you want to come get the chipmunks, I give you a saucer of milk. But producer Landon's in. He'll be here later with a shotgun going after chipmunks. And by the way, the cat, I don't know, he's a tuxedo. Cat is adorable. Sven's adorable. I just trying to take over. I know a usurper when I see one. We've got the radio break, so we're going to take the break here for the show, and we will be back. Guys, can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Stay right here. We'll be back in a few. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. That's the name of the show. I'm Tony Katz. Cigar well in hand here. This is the Oliva V Milanio. Right there. I already took the label off. The band off just because, I don't know, habit. I guess there is much more to get to. I know President Trump was speaking with the Prime Minister of Ireland, I believe. I think that has wrapped up by now. Let's take a look there and see what is going on. Also, the Trump Tesla story. Oh, is that actually going on as we speak? Are they talking as we are here? Let's see. No, I thought that was done. I thought that was finished.
Listen to the Book Notes Plus podcast.
I don't want to listen to the Book Notes Plus podcast. Don't talk to me like that. There we go.
To give the Taoiseach some advice, Ireland is in the midst of a housing crisis now, and I know you have a lot of experience as a businessman. How can the state build tens of thousands of houses at speed?
You know why they have a housing crisis? Because they're doing so well. They can't produce houses fast enough. That's a good problem, not a bad problem.
Pretty good answer, President.
Congratulations. No, it's true.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU, Mr. President? Mr. President, will you?
Everybody.
A lot of yelling.
Problem. That's okay.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU?
I know this gentleman. He'll get it solved.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU? Will you respond to their retaliation?
Oh, of course I'm going to respond.
You will
The
retaliate with
problem
more
is our
tariffs.
country didn't respond. Look, the EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Yes.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the US?
Of course they are. I can't, I have great respect for Ireland and what they did. And they should have done just what they did. but the United States shouldn't have let it happen. We had stupid leaders. We had leaders that didn't have a clue, or let's say they weren't business people, but they didn't have a clue what was happening. And all of a sudden, Ireland has, our pharmaceutical companies and this beautiful island of 5 million people has got the entire U.S. pharmaceutical industry in its grasp. And, you mentioned housing and you mentioned other things. I mean, I have property in Ireland, as you know, and I love it. It does great. But I'd like to see the United States not have been so stupid for so many years, not just with Ireland, with everybody. I looked at trade deals. I was telling the group yesterday, I looked at trade deals in term one. It's one of the reasons I decided I had to do this, because somebody had to straighten it out, and I didn't see anybody that was going to. I looked at trade deals that were so bad, I'd actually say, how is it possible that this could have happened? Who would have been so stupid to let these deals happen? For instance, when the pharmaceutical companies started to go to Ireland, I would have said, that's okay if you want to go to Ireland. I think it's great. But if you want to sell anything into the United States, I'm going to put a 200% tariff on you. So you're never going to be able to sell anything into the United States. You know what they would have?
President Trump speaking with the Prime Minister of Ireland there in the Oval and taking questions about the formation of the EU, the European Union. He's absolutely right. Of course, the EU was created to thwart America, to try and keep American growth in check, to have some kind of, I don't know if I'd call it a hegemonic bet, but absolutely to try and disrupt, whether it's America as the reserve currency, what have you. Of course, it was to strengthen their own position. And Trump's argument is, smart move. We should never have let it happen. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. And yes, there is definitely some buyer's remorse about the European Union, because not for the idea of whether or not it gave them economic strength, which is, of course, questionable at this stage, but whether or not it gave them, it forced them into having to give up some levels of sovereignty, which it clearly has, which is why the UK engaged Brexit and walked away. Meanwhile, Trump is still answering questions. Let's go to it.
He had cancer and has cancer, very bad cancer. There wasn't from people sitting there, Democrats, there wasn't a hand clap. Nobody stood. They were just stone-faced. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them. There was no standing for anybody. The only thing they liked is when they heard about the death taking place with Ukraine. They were happy about that. Pocahontas was very happy. She's the one that was slapped. That's why I looked at her. I said, oh, it's Pocahontas. These people are sick. They don't know what's happening in the real world. The Democrats have to get their act together. And if they don't vote, then what you're going to do is you're going to have taxes that are going to go through the roof. You're going to have a very bad time. You're going to have some very bad things happen. And people are going to blame the Democrats. And Schumer is a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, it's on.
Inconsistency.
Oh,
Only with NBC, which is one of the worst networks on television, by the way. Let me just tell you the inconsistency. I have the right to adjust. And I was called by the automakers, as an example, General Motors, Ford, etc., the big three, the big four, and they asked me to do them a favor. Could I delay it for a period of 4 weeks so that they're not driven into a little bit of a disaster for them? They actually love what I'm doing, but they had a problem. And I'm not like a block that just, I won't delay. It's called flexibility. It's not called inconsistency. It's called flexibility. And I think you want me to be flexible too.
Is flexibility going to be your ongoing view towards?
Sure, I'll always have flexibility. But
now, that's a whole conversation about tariffs and not putting the tariff on steel and aluminum in Canada. But let's go before that. He was discussing, of course, this kid DJ who has cancer, 13 years old, and Democrats would not applaud for him as Trump is honoring him and making him an honorary Secret Service member at the joint address. Schumer is a Palestinian at this point, is going to get massive, massive pushback. People are going to be out of their heads about this. I don't know how Rashida Tlaib is going to respond. But if you're going to say that this agitator, this supporter of Hamas, the supporter of the destruction of American Western civilization, Khalil, and my conversation with William Jacobson from Legal Insurrection has been picked up everywhere. I just saw it again mentioned in articles over at Newsmax. If you want to argue that this guy is somehow having his rights taken away and you can't arrest him and he's been disappeared, he has not been disappeared, has Mahmoud Khalil. He is a lawful permanent resident, but not a citizen. He is supportive of Hamas proactively. They support armed resistance. As discussed, it makes him deportable according to 8 U.S. code. He was part of an organization that tried to prevent Jewish students from crossing the campus at Columbia University. It is clear and it is obvious that he is not an American citizen, and there are different rules for him. But as we discussed yesterday, nothing about this is a free speech conversation. And yet you have people like Chris Murphy out there trying to push this idea that somehow, shockingly, that this is really about how look what's happened here. Look how Trump is so violating this guy's rights. I mean, this was Senator Chris Murphy. Let me see if I can get to this right here and put this one up here. Listen.
A young man by the name of Mahmoud Khalil, an immigrant and a legal permanent resident of the United States, is being held right now in prison, even though no criminal charges have been filed against him.
No criminal charges have to be filed. He's not a citizen. And by the way, I want to know how many people from January 6th were put in jail without any charges before charges came. How long did that take? You can go back to 1995 as Bill Melugin reports, and how Secretary of State Warren Christopher deported a Mexican national under the same exact provision. These people are desperate to try and get you to say, hey, you can't simply tell somebody because they're supportive of Hamas they can't be in the country. If they're not a citizen, maybe you can. But in no way is this a free speech conversation. None. Zero way is this a free speech conversation. But calling Schumer a Palestinian, well, that is going to be taken very ugly, for sure. Saying that the Democratic Party as a whole clearly favors terrorist agitators as opposed to American citizens engaged in their religion or walking down the street, unquestionably true.
Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy so that Ireland and other countries can't take our businesses away from us. And he understands exactly. You guys did the right thing. I'm not upset with you. I think I respect what you've done. You've done a great job. But our people did a very bad job.
How advanced are your plans to try and bring some of those companies back to America? Will you be briefing?
Well, I'd love to have him back. I mean, I'd love to have him back, but he'll be fighting me.
I mean, what I would say, President, if I could 1 second, just make the point. It's a two-way street too, and we are investing a lot more in America now. And people may not realize, but Ryanair, one of our biggest airlines, for example, AirCap, they buy more. The two of them together buy more Boeing airplanes than anybody else outside of America. That's a little known fact. It doesn't turn up in the statistics, but Ryanair and AirCap, big aircraft leasing company, Irish company, have done great work with Boeing and huge
They've
investments
done a
over the
good
last
job.
couple of years, you know. So, and there's a lot of Irish companies here now, about 700 odd Irish companies based in America. Glanbia, you know, Smurfit Waterrock, I was saying to you this morning, Vice President. A lot of.
You gotta love this. Like there's actual discussion happening. That didn't happen under Biden. And I don't think Trump did as much of this in the first term. Maybe he did, and I don't recall it. But there is an openness and an honesty I mean, never mind the Ukraine, right? The Zelensky disaster. This is a really fascinating look at how the sausage is made and how these guys talk to each other and how they share and engage and integrate. I think this is unbelievably helpful and healthy for all of us to see.
A little bit. I mean, there's a massive deficit that we have with Ireland, and with other countries too. And we want to sort of even that out as nicely as we can, and we'll work together. We're going to work together, great. But the deficit is massive. When you hear this one.
You said earlier that it was now up to Russia in terms of the ceasefire.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do in terms of pressuring Russia or in terms of sanctions? Or what can you do?
We can, but I hope it's not going to be necessary. Sure, we can pressure. We can do that with Russia. Remember this, Russia took Georgia from Bush, right? They took Crimea from a man named Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, right?
Oh.
They're trying to take the whole thing from Biden. They're going for the whole ball of wax. Who was the only one that never took anything from? Trump. And in fact, I'm the one that stopped Nord Stream 2, the pipeline, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world. I stopped it. It was dead. And then Biden got in and he approved it. Nobody mentions that. What I did to Russia was very tough. I was the toughest ever. But nope, they never took anything from me. They took them from Obama and Bush, and they took it from Sleepy Joe Biden. With Biden, they wanted to take the whole country, but I think I've stopped that, but we'll see. But yeah, there are things you could do that wouldn't be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace. And we're getting close to maybe getting something done. We've got Ukraine done. And as you know, I've always said that Ukraine might have been the more difficult party. You were here a week ago when some interesting things happened. I had somebody that didn't seem to want peace. Now he's agreed to peace. So we'll see what happens.
That is what we were just discussing. How do you get Russia to the table? And also, that is Trump proving something we've been discussing. Of course, Vladimir Putin is an expansionist. Of course, he has expansionary desires. And everybody who has been saying no, Donald Trump just told you what happened. He told you right there, as clear as day. Man, these Oval Office talks share so much. More to get to. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. All right, let's get back to it, guys. I had to take a break on the radio side. Let's listen to the Prime Minister of Ireland.
To be honest, and I think it was correctly pointed out, we've got to build more houses. We've got to build them faster to give the young people of Ireland an opportunity to afford to buy a house or to afford to rent a house. We have a lot of other good things happening. That's my number one priority.
Are you trying to
confirm, Mr. President? Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Do
you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
You better off not knowing.
Prime Minister, are you expecting to inform the President your views on Gaza, considering that you have diametrically opposed positions on the state of Palestine? Your country is one of three in Europe that recognizes the state of Palestine. Are you expecting to discuss this with the President? Are you expecting to inform him?
I don't have to inform the President. He's very well clued into the whole situation. We shared the President's, again, unrelenting focus on peace. And he's envoying the President himself, as soon as he came into office, went to get a ceasefire. We've been calling for a ceasefire for a long time.
Yeah, but
We
you
want
recognize
consolidation.
Palestine, which is to
That was
say
all
you
from them. We
recognize
want the hostages out. I've been saying it from day one.
the eradication of Israel. Ireland is not this great place. Radical abortion laws that are just horrific, awful on free speech, and the recognizing of Palestine means you believe in the eradication of Israel. Despicable stuff all the way around.
The horror. It was a village. You could see life going on prior to the attack. It was something that will not leave me. And I've been interested in the Middle East for a long, long time. It's complex, and it's all of that. But we do desperately need hostages out, all of them. It's from far too long. Let me finish. And then we need a ceasefire. We need to consolidate that. We need a surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Because again, there's too many children and too many people starving. That's all. Just too many. And it's that humanitarian impulse is what motivates the Irish in respect of its views. And
I don't know if that's true.
It's been our view that a two-state solution would be ideal. It's become much more.
Well, you can't have a two-state solution, you absolute ridiculous man-child, with a terrorist organization. So what are you talking about, two-state solution? Europe.
People hating each other, terrible acts of violence carried out on each other. We came through it. It's our earnest hope that Arab and Jewish people can live side by side. And I've met with people, parents of children who were killed on both sides, called Parent Circle in Israel, and they work to try and bring people together. It's difficult work.
What about the president's plans to expel Palestinians out of Gaza? Are you discussing that with him and giving him your...
Nobody's expelling any Palestinians. I don't know. Who are you with?
I'm in Voice of America, sir.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, Voice of
Can you express how he feels about the president just saying that he would like to take back US companies, pharma companies based in Ireland?
Well, I think the pharmaceutical companies in Ireland are doing very well, as the president has outlined. I
swear to you, I thought my glasses
again, I think it's about that two-way partnership. I understand fully where the president is coming from. I think there's actually room. Now, we can discuss all this. I think there's room for those companies to grow in America, and many of them, by the way, have already.
You absolutely said Obama's full name. Yes, he certainly did.
Just recently.
Like people like Eli Lilly, for example, who have been a long-standing presence in Ireland since the 1970s. I spoke to the CEO recently.
He's great.
Great guy. And he's announced, I think, about a $50 billion investment in America.
New plans.
But there's big investment, they've had big investment in Ireland. Ireland has served them well too, The workforce is very strong. It's an educated workforce. They've delivered well. During COVID-19, a number of CEOs said to me, a lot of the plants in Ireland were the only plants that never closed for a single day during COVID. Not a single day. Productivity is good and so on like that. But look, there are swings around.
Mr. President, thank you so much. You spoke to looking for
press conference there, actually say Oval Office meeting between President Trump and the Prime Minister of Ireland there, Tony Katz today. But the Prime Minister of Ireland has a terrible record. Their abortion laws are gross. Their commitment to free speech is zero. And yes, they recognize Palestine. Well, if you're going to recognize Palestine, what you're saying is Israel doesn't exist. You bigots. Oh, we want the hostages back. What are you doing? You recognizing Palestine doesn't get you hostages back. We want a two-state solution. With whom? The Hamas terrorists and the Palestinians who support them and were there on October 7th killing people all around the Gaza envelope? It is an irrational, awful position, horrific position that the Irish have. And there are plenty of people in Ireland who know that the country is falling apart fast. But good Lord, you want a two-state solution. You recognize Palestine. You're saying that you don't want one of those states, Israel, to exist at all. That's the Irish right now. And yes, Rosie O'Donnell went there. I'll get to that story coming up. Let's get back to this.
The American leverage to get a lot of political issues.
Well, I don't want to get into that, but if I had to, I'm the only one that's dealt with them successfully. Everyone else, I went through it. Bush didn't deal with them successfully, dealt with them terribly, got ripped off. And Obama was a disaster. They have with Obama, he gave them sheets and I gave them anti-tank missiles. You know that, right? It's called Javelin. You know the Javelin? I'm the one that gave him the javelins. People don't say that.
We do know that that is the case. I'll let that presser continue. There was a story regarding a woman on an airplane. And I am constantly fascinated by the way people act on a plane. And you guys know this is true. Whenever I'm in an airplane, I'm in a suit. People who show up in pajamas and everything, it is such a lack of respect for self, never mind everybody else. And I think it adds to the tension. The tension comes from how the airlines treat people, comes from how the TSA treats people, and then it all explodes on these planes. And people who believe that somehow they've been aggrieved, they can't handle when anything goes wrong. Why isn't everybody doing everything they want? It's nutty. Well, there is a story of this woman named Jennifer Castro. And Jennifer Castro was asked to change seats on an airplane. And she was like, no, I'm not moving my seat. I'm not going to do that. She goes and she sees this kid sitting in her designated seat. She had picked this seat. It was a window seat. She's like, hey, that's my seat. Then someone started filming her. And the kid, and I think another family member was like, why are you making this kid move? And it's because it was my seat. It's my seat. I'm going to sit there. So there's been so much public backlash that this woman is now suing for people recording the video. I want everyone to know that if I have reserved a seat and you decided, well, I'm traveling with my child and I didn't get to reserve a seat for them, so I'll just take this seat and you'll move. Screw you. If I'm a guy who I treat myself to certain things, and I do treat myself to first class, I apologize for nothing. If I've got a first class seat and all of a sudden you decide, well, my kid needs to sit with me, you can go back in the coach. Go to hell. As a matter of fact, you should be thrown off a plane for doing that, and you should be put on a no-fly list. You should not be allowed to fly. When you decide that you're more important, this goes back to what you wear, this goes back to how you act. You decided that somehow you need to be treated in a certain way, and everybody has to accept this. No, it is a total disregard for other people. It is obscene. You don't have to change your seat because someone didn't get a proper seat for their spouse, for their kid, anything else. They have to move. They have to figure it out. You don't have to accommodate those people. You can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you do, but you're not a bad person if you don't. The bad person is the person or the people who decide that they're just going to take the liberty of changing you and you can't do anything about it. They're going to take the seat, and if you say that's my seat, well, how dare you? This is a child. You should have thought more about your child. You should have given more of a damn about your own kid. And if it happens, airlines should take those people and throw them off the plane. By force if needed. And maybe just so we can all watch. This is Tony Katz today. I think people think my position on flights are nutty. But I'm telling you right now, these people drive me nuts. It is horrific the way that they act. Oh, and stop wearing pajamas on a plane. If you're above the age of 4, no pajamas on a plane. Actually respect yourself, and no yoga clothes or stop it. Dress like a grown-up. Dress like you have some pride in yourself, for the love of the Lord. No tank tops, no flip-flops. If you're wearing socks, you're allowed to take off your shoes, as long as they don't stink. Right there, under there, if you're going to be like a long flight, absolutely. That's allowed. If you're wearing socks. If you're not wearing socks, keep your dang shoes on. And if you're wearing flip-flops, and men, Shame. Pure shame. Just hand in your man card. If you're a grown man and you're wearing flip-flops on an airplane, I can only assume that you tuck. That is my assumption. That's it. Producer Landon laughing in my ear. Guys, I got to run. I am so sorry. I got to run. I got to go. There's a lot to get to. I appreciate you being here. Don't worry. I am back tomorrow, and I can't thank you enough. Don't forget, by the way, tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Trump and American Reset in 3 bourbons. April 17th, Kokomo, Indiana. Going to be such a good time. The bourbon, the cigars, the food, the everything. I'm going to make you laugh out loud. I'm not going to lie. You're going to wet yourself. That's how good it is. That's how good. I hope to see you there. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets right now, and I will catch you tomorrow, everyone. Take care.